What else do we have here? Hey, Webbot warned us a while ago, Australia housing market, get ready. Bust cycle incoming. And I've done my fair share of articles on this one, but here's another one. The housing bust, WolfStreet.com, the housing bust in Sydney and Melbourne, oh my. But it wasn't the central bank that pricked the bubble. Its interest rate is at a record low. And just FYI, Lindsay Williams has put out a new DVD. And of course, I already got people asking, Joe, you gonna do it? Of course, I just have to. So I've ordered the DVD, a little faster shipping, do my little summary. I'll ultimately I'll do a summary for everybody, but I'll release it for my patrons first. It's not a major thing with Lindsay Williams, but I'll give it to them first, and then I'll put it on YouTube publicly for everybody else. Who knows what he's going to say. Housing bubble bust in Sydney and Melbourne, oh my, but it wasn't the central bank that pricked the bubble. Its interest rate is at a record low. The relentlessness of the housing busts in the regions of Sydney and Melbourne, they account for about 55% of Australia's housing stock by value, is quite something. At some point, it seems, the price declines would slow down at least for a little while or even perform a quick bounce before falling again. But no, the downward momentum is picking up. For Sydney, according to CoreLogic's daily home value index, prices dropped 1.8% in December from November in just 1 month. The index is now down 11.1% from its peak in July of just last year. And by last year, I think he means, 2017. In the calendar year 2018, in Sydney, the prices of all things of dwellings fell 8.9%, with prices of single-family houses down 10% and prices of condos units down 6.3%. These declines pushed the index back to its level of August 2016. Prices of more expensive homes are falling faster. Prices in the upper quartile of the market fell 10%. Prices in the lower quartile of the market fell 6.8%. In Melbourne, the second largest market in Australia, the housing bust lags Sydney's bust by about 4 months. According to the CoreLogic Daily Home Value Index, since the peak in November 2017, prices of all types of dwellings fell 7.2%, which pushed prices back to February 2017 levels. In the calendar year 2018, Melbourne's prices of all types of dwellings fell 7%, with single-family houses down 9.2%, having plunged nearly 2% in just the month of December, and unit prices down 2.3%. High-priced homes are on the chopping block. Prices in the most expensive quartile of the market dropped 11.2%. Prices in the bottom quartile inched up 0.5%. In the other capital cities, let's try that again. In the other capital cities in the year 2018, the housing bust pushed prices back to 2007 levels. Whoa. In Darwin, or do you say that Darwin, like an Aussie, Darwin, into 2009 levels in Perth, while prices gained in the remainder. Brisbane, Queensland, plus 0.2%. Adelaide, South Australia, Adelaide, 1.3% up. Perth, Western Australia, minus 4.7%, which pushed prices back to levels last seen in March 2009. After peaking in 2014, prices were then felled by the mining bust. Darwin, Northern Territory, minus 1.5%. This pushed prices back to levels last seen in, October 2007, after having also peaked in 2014. Canberra, Australia Capital Territory, 3.3% up. Hobart, Tasmania, plus 8.7%, but that pace is down from double-digit year-over-year gains earlier in 2018. What the hell's going on over there in Tasmania? CoreLogic's National Home Price Index is down 5.2% from its October 2017 peak. Head of Research Tim Lawless said in the report that this is a broad weakening in market that goes well beyond the correction in Sydney and Melbourne. The increasingly steep price declines in Sydney and Melbourne can be blamed on the confluence of factors. Prices are too darn high. After years of steamy price gains, unaffordability for many potential buyers who'd actually live in the homes they'd buy reached crisis levels. The construction boom is dousing the market with record new supply. Exposure of the bank's mortgage shenanigans, first in the media and eventually by the Royal Commission investigation, is putting a damper on said shenanigans, thus crimping mortgage lending. Generally tighter credit availability, according to CoreLogic's report, interest-only lending has tracked well below the recently discarded 30% limit. Credit growth for investment purposes is virtually flatlining, and owner-occupier credit growth slowed sharply over the second half of the year. Lenders are generally seeking out larger deposits from borrowers and have become much more forensic in detailing borrower expense profiles and servicing capacity. Quote, lenders are understandably risk averse against a backdrop of falling dwelling values, high household debt, rising supply, and heightened regulatory focus following the Banking Royal Commission, said CoreLogic's Lawlist. Now let me ask you a question. What I just read you, basically that little snippet right there, that last thing, could you kind of sort of apply that to any part of the Western world, Canada, United States, Australia, of course, again, Europe even, Western world? And which part, Snip? What was? Oh, let me say it again. Lenders are understandably risk averse against a backdrop of, here we go, falling dwelling values, high household debt, ding, 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 rising supply, and heightened regulatory focus following the Banking Royal Commission. We are over indebted. Prices of things are way too damn high, especially our housing. And there's no way this can continue. My guy told me a long time ago, a few months ago, when he was first starting to tell me about some of the movement in crypto. And I'd asked him, does he have like a track record with you yet, like in crypto? And he goes, well, not yet. No, just one thing he told me last year about Bitcoin that happened, price of Bitcoin, but it actually went a little higher than he thought. But that was the only thing. I'm like, okay. So I don't want to just tell people, hey, he said this yet. I got to get a track record going, right? But he goes, now not related to crypto. He's giving me some pretty damn good advice. Remember the last housing bust? Yeah. He told me to get the hell out. He convinced me to get out, and I did. And then I got back in after the crash and got a nice house for a lot cheap, way cheaper. So I said, okay, interesting. Why am I bringing that up right now? Because in that conversation a few months ago, the initial conversation, he said, by the way, they've saved 2, maybe 3 years. Housing bust 2.0 is going to be staring us right in the face. So that was 2018, 2019, 2020, again into 2020, not January 1st, but sometime in 2020 would be 2 years. 2021 would be 3 years. So I think he's going to be right. The question is, can people sit back and wait, not live their lives and expecting something like this? I mean, well, you could go rent. I mean, you could sell at the high, hint, hint, right now, and rent for a while. Just that's what he did. He's like, yeah, I rented for a couple of years, like he told me, and I got back in, got a decent house for a lot cheaper. So if this is going to happen again, and everything's cyclical, some people might be thinking about renting. Now, Snippy got this house a little more than a year ago. Again, very unique circumstances. I was in Veritasium crypto, $6 a piece, went up to 120 plus. I sold pretty much all of them at that time, and had a nice down payment for this house, and then some, right? So, slightly different reasons that I went out and got this house. My credit, which I had a foreclosure on there, was wiped clean. I thought, well, maybe they'll put it back on. I have an opportune time to get a house and just start, getting back in the game. And it was a unique house. I love the property. It's got some acreage. It's not just a little house on a, typical cookie cutter, neighbors next to you, housing. No thanks. I'm happy here. I got my own little man cave in the back, crypto cave as I call it. Do my videos, which lately I haven't even been out there, doing stuff on my bed here. But the point is, if you're waiting for a fire sale to come, it's coming. It's coming. 2, maybe 3 years. Maybe it'll be here sooner. Maybe it's only a year and a half. It's just an estimate. The guy didn't say, exactly on February 24th, 2020. No. Look, our data, the same stuff he tells us with the cryptos, data says this should happen next. It doesn't mean on this date specific. And he's been right. So anyways, I'm telling you that because that guy told my guy housing crash 2.0 is coming again. Consumer sentiment has soured on real estate, not surprisingly, given the well-publicized drop in prices after the years of you cannot lose money in real estate hype. CoreLogic cites the Westpac/Melbourne Institute Consumer Sentiment Survey, which shows that measures of housing sentiment were pessimistic. And, finally, Chinese investors got cold feet. Remember they were just dumping money across the planet? Australia, I don't know if it was San Francisco, somewhere in California, Canada. Remember that? Chinese investors got cold feet after seeing prices drop. CoreLogic explained that the substantial reduction in foreign buyer activity and a reduction in overseas migration were among the factors dragging market conditions down even further over the year. And this in a housing market that has become desperately dependent on both, as many locals can no longer afford to buy at these prices. I've said this before. Can you imagine a foreign entity coming into your town, your city, and all of a sudden housing's going up, not because of anything local. These foreigners coming in willing to pay the asking price. We're not even going to get bargain, just we'll buy it. And then they get in bidding wars with each other, the foreigners, and they bid the price even higher. I was only asking $219,000 for the house. I sold it for $240,000. Yeah, these guys got a bidding war. Can you believe it? I made enough to $20,000. Could you believe it? You're telling your friends, you're all excited. But then everybody around you is now, oh man, I can't afford that house anymore. Gosh, just 6 months ago I could afford it. Now I can't even afford it. I got to live in a dumpier neighborhood now. Oh man. That's crazy. Anyways, take care.